We're continuing with the signs before the Day of Judgment. We're still on the minor signs, and we're doing the minor signs that are yet to come. We stopped doing the ones that were happening as we, like all around us or as we speak, and now we're doing the ones that are coming in the future. Now, the first one here is not related to the second one. So let's hear the first one. This is narrated by Ibn Hibban and Al-Hakim rahimahumullah. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu says, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the hour will not be established, and we already explained what that means. It means the Day of Judgment will not come until this happens before it. Until Hajj is no longer performed. The hour will not be established until Hajj is no longer performed. What can cause that? So obviously when you see something like this where the signs that mention the Quran disappearing or Hajj no longer being performed, this will immediately tell you that this is towards the very end of time. This is towards the very end of time. So what could cause people to not perform Hajj? And I know someone immediately probably thinks a virus outbreak, a viral outbreak will cause that. That will not cause Hajj to not be performed. That will cause Hajj to be cancelled or postponed for a year or two or more. But Hajj is not being performed anymore by anybody. So that's why this is towards the end of time. The same, could be Allahu A'lam around the times when people don't say La ilaha illallah anymore and don't know what it means. Nobody prays. There's no Quran. Idols are worshipped again in the Arabian Peninsula. So that's when we're talking. This is towards the very end of time. All right, or towards the end of time. Let me not be too specific here. Now, this sign has nothing to do with this next one. This is in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He said, the Kaaba will be destroyed by Dhu Suwayqatayn from Abyssinia. يخرب الكعبة ذو السويقتين من الحبشة. يخرب الكعبة. So he will destroy the Kaaba. ذو السويقتين. Saq is like your leg, or especially the lower part from your knee to your the leg basically. This is your saq. Saqain, two of them. Now suwayqatain is a tasghir, is a diminutive form which shows that physically he is weak. So he has skinny legs, small legs, right? Skinny. So he's not physically a strong person. And he destroys the Kaaba. The Prophet ﷺ said, كأني به. It's as if I can see him. يقلعها حجرا حجرا. He takes it apart, brick by brick, stone by stone. He's taking the Kaaba apart, brick by brick. That's not why there's no Hajj. All right. So that's what I want to make sure that we're clear. Because if there is no Hajj because there's no Kaaba, then there would not be anything strong or like a sign or miraculous about that. There's no sign here. There's no Kaaba, so there's no Hajj. If there's no masjid, so nobody prays. But if there's a masjid and it's lit and the doors are open and nobody prays, then that indicates something is happening or has happened to people. So the Kaaba is standing at this point and there's no Hajj. Now this is a different time period here where the Suwayqatain comes, this man from Abyssinia comes and he destroys the Kaaba. Now, takes it apart brick by brick. In other narrations, some of them mentioned by Imam Ahmad and others, the Prophet ﷺ describes him as asla', which means he's bald. Small ears, asma', al-asma', saghir al-udhunayn, he's got small ears, he's bald in the head. Aswad, he's black. And sometimes when people hear that, he's black, he's not racist mentioning someone by their, well, back then, everything is racist now, but back then it was just normal. If someone is black, you said he's black. If he was red, meaning like had a reddish complexion, which is part of the explanation of what Isa meant, that he was rosy cheeks and reddish complexion. Anyways, it wasn't a big deal. And the other most important thing is that he is from Abyssinia. What did you want him to look like? He has to be black. There's nothing wrong with describing someone as being black. It's very normal. But today everything is very sensitive, right? So the Prophet ﷺ then in other narrations describes him being, we said, bald, small ears, black, and then أفحج. الفحج يعني التباعد ما بين al-fakhidain. So he's bow-legged. So Hajj, he's bow-legged. And others describe him like, weak and has some, so he's lame, he's got a limp. So what we're seeing, and why the description, we're seeing someone very weak physically, and he physically takes the Kaaba apart brick by brick. How is that possible? Well, one thing you clearly have made out already, this is obviously after the time period when there's no Hajj, all right? Then the second thing is, because nobody knows what the Kaaba is, nobody cares what it is, he destroys it and nobody stops him because nobody knows what it's for. And isn't that hard to believe? Isn't that hard to imagine? And look at how people love the Kaaba today and love the Haram and love the black stone and just want to touch the Kaaba, and as you get closer to it, the roughness and pushing, and how people are crazy about that place. Most beloved place on earth to the majority of Muslims on the planet. And there's going to be a day when nobody even knows what this building is, and someone will destroy it brick by brick. And not even as an art piece, someone who's going to want to preserve it. It's just very sad, isn't it? Very heartbreaking. Anyways, by the way, someone, when Obama was president, someone said, Obama is the suwayqatayn. And for God's sake, can we do better with the signs of the hour? Every time something happens, this was one of those signs. And it has nothing to do with Obama whatsoever. We just like stuff, when kids have that toy where they put the square block and the square opening and the triangle and the triangle opening. Our Ummah hasn't learned that yet. We're still trying to cram a square into a circle. That's how we deal with the signs before the Day of Judgment. They said the suwayqatayn, Obama is the suwayqatayn. First of all, he's not from Al-Habasha. Second, the suwayqatayn has small ears. Anyways, so, okay, now, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow the destruction of the Kaaba? Here's something interesting. We know of a time when someone tried to destroy the Kaaba. This was in the year of the elephant. So first of all, this man Abraha, he was the governor of Yemen. And he built a structure. He called it Al-Qulays in Sana'a in Yemen. And he wanted to divert, because you know what the Kaaba did for the Quraysh? It brought pilgrims from all over. It brought trade and money and merchandise from all over. So he wants to divert Hajj from Al-Kaaba in Mecca to Al-Qulays that he built in Sana'a. So he built this building and he called all the Arabs to make pilgrimage there instead of Mecca. Now, of course, it's insulting, right? This is the house built by Ibrahim alayhi salam, or at least restructured or rebuilt by Ibrahim alayhi salam. And now you built this thing and you're calling for Hajj or pilgrimage to Sana'a. So a man from Quraysh who happened to be there in Sana'a at that time, he became angry. He was really upset. So he went into it, probably at night, and he urinated and defecated all over it. He left him surprise packages, landmines everywhere. So in the morning they came, they found these surprise packages everywhere. So Abraha became so angry, so he said he's going to destroy the Kaaba. Now, if he destroys the Kaaba in Mecca, people naturally now are going to turn towards his building. But as long as the Kaaba is there, no one's going to look at his building. Nobody cares about it. So he gets an army of elephants. That's like the utmost of power here. Brings an army of elephants. And he comes with this huge army crossing through the deserts to destroy the Kaaba. At the time, the leader of the Quraysh was Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, on the way, Abraha finds like some goats and some camels and some livestock belonging to people, and his army they take it by force. So they go and complain to Abdul Muttalib. So now Abraha, he camps, right, when he gets to what is known as Wadi Muhassir, which is between Mina and Muzdalifah. And that's where the army was destroyed. So anyways, he's camped there, and Abdul Muttalib comes to him. Now, when Abdul Muttalib entered, so Abraha knows that the leader of the Quraysh is coming to talk to him. When Abdul Muttalib entered, he had this hayba, he had this commanding presence, and he was handsome and looked respectable. So when Abraha saw him, he respected him, he got up to him and he really honored him, even though he's coming to destroy the Kaaba. So then he says, what can I do for you? And he thought, now he's expecting now as this powerful man coming with this powerful army against a group that's not prepared to handle them, that he's going to be, that Abdul Muttalib is going to plead with him and ask him and beg him. And so Abdul Muttalib says, yeah, your army took some camels and some goats and on the way here, so I'm just here to ask you to please return those things. So Abraha was like, when I saw you, I respected you, I thought this was an intelligent and a wise person. I'm coming here to destroy the Kaaba, and you have an audience with me. All you ask me for are goats? You're here to ask for goats and some camels? What about the Kaaba? I thought you talk about something more important. Oh man. And Abdul Muttalib gave him an answer, like the most powerful answer he could possibly give him. I'm not concerned. I'm really chill, as they say, very cool about this issue. He tells him, he says, I'm the owner of the camels. That's what I'm here for. As for the house, he says, Lil Bayti Rabbun Yuhmi. He's like, the house, it has an owner that'll protect it. No, I'm not worried about that. Just give me the goats. I'm not ever worried about protecting the house. Allah protect His house. I'm just here for the goats. Whew. Talk about some confidence, right? Really powerful. Anyways, so when they get to Wadi Muhassir, this valley of Muhassir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends them the ababil, birds, as we all know from Surah Al-Fil. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل. It was pelting them with these stones. فجعلهم كعصف مأكول. Look, completely dead and destroyed. Alright, what's the point of going into that story? Here is an example of when someone came to destroy the Kaaba and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defended the Kaaba. But those Suwayqatain, so this is an army of elephants, a powerful army, and Allah destroyed them. And then this weak man who is disfigured, other hadith that we said describe him as lame and crippled and hunched over and what have you, and he destroys it brick by brick. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroy this man? And the answer is simple. Because of a number of things. Number one, if Abraha had succeeded in destroying the Kaaba, he would have threatened the very existence of the Kaaba, because he would have switched and diverted Hajj, moved it to Sana'a, to Al-Qulays, his building, and nobody would have remembered Mecca, and it would have lost its importance, this place, its importance. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His plan is that His final messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, His final religion will be sent to this area. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then has to preserve this place. But when the Suwayqatain destroys it towards the end of time, no one has any need of it. So why should Allah defend it? For what? So it could just stand there for nobody? So you see the difference. First, the destruction, so we got 2 points now. The destruction of Abraha would have threatened its very existence. It would have never been rebuilt. Not the second one. The second explanation is that, or the second reason, is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that place was still important and there was something important going to happen there, so it has to be preserved. But later on, why preserve the Kaaba? Nobody worships there, nobody knows what it's for. So why preserve it? So it could just stand there? Alright? Now, there's some other also interesting points, and that is, the Kaaba has been destroyed before. The Kaaba has been destroyed before during there was, and again I'm going to be extremely brief here, but during the time of Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhuma, Abdullah ibn Zubair became the Khalifa. Sometimes people forget to mention that he was one of the Khulafa, and then he had the majority of territory, then he started to lose it bit by bit, until they lay siege to them in Mecca. And they needed an army now. So Ibn Zubair was inside, his army was in Mecca and in the Haram, and they need an army now to attack Mecca. And everyone's afraid to attack Mecca. So an unknown soldier steps out of the ranks. Nobody knew him. Nobody knew his name. He was not famous. He was not known for anything. This man just steps out and volunteers. He says, I'll lead the army. I'll lead the charge to fight the army of Zubair inside Mecca. Because like they were besieged completely. And even though nobody knew this man's name, now everybody knows his name. That man, believe it or not, was Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. Hajjaj, that's how he surfaced. He just stepped out of the crowd and volunteered to lead an army to fight the army of Ibn Zubair radiallahu anhuma inside the Kaaba or the Haram. And it's funny, like Al-Hajjaj, he used to be a Quran teacher. He was just a nobody, not a nobody in that sense, but like he was a Quran teacher and then suddenly becomes Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. The point is that they started with catapults, throwing rocks, all right? Throwing rocks. And sometimes, fire and stuff like that. And so the catapult, there was one inside, the army of Ibn Zubair would throw at the other army. And then they would throw inside. And then they threw, and a rock came and it hit the Kaaba and it destroyed it. Then, qaddar Allah, a lightning bolt came and struck that catapult, that mechanism, that device. It got struck by lightning. And so everybody said, that's it, that's a sign. This is the exact device that destroyed the Kaaba, and now a lightning bolt destroyed it. And so they stopped fighting. And Al-Hajjaj wants to keep going. They're like, you don't see what happened? We destroyed Allah's house. And then a lightning bolt, lightning strikes our machine or our catapult. So then, as they were discussing it and maybe even thinking of withdrawing, qaddar Allah, that a lightning bolt comes out of the sky and hits in the army of Ibn Zubair. So now, Al-Hajjaj tells them it's just a coincidence. So we thought it was like a sign when ours got hit, but now theirs got hit. They weren't destroying the Kaaba. So it's just a coincidence. So they resumed fighting. Anyways, what I wanted to cite was another time when the Kaaba was destroyed. And there were other times. This was about 1,100 years ago in the year 317 after the Hijrah, in the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. That means we're right in the middle of Hajj here, or in the season of Hajj. During this time, the Abbasid dynasty, they were busy with problems all around the empire, and this happened right under their noses. This is a group known as Al-Qaramita. And this is under the leadership of a man by the name of Abu Tahir Al-Qurmuti. And this man, he led his army, and they come into the Haram, and they killed 20,000 of the Hujjaj. 20,000. This is 1,100 years ago. They killed 20,000 of the Hujjaj, murdered them, and they threw the majority of them into the well of Zamzam and scattered the bodies everywhere. Then they tore off and tore down the curtain of the Kaaba. They removed the door of the Kaaba. He had his horse urinating all around it and urinating into Zamzam. They removed the black stone and took it away from the Kaaba, and it remained lost and hidden for 22 years before the Muslims finally got it back from Al-Qaramita. After 22 years, when they got it back, it was just fragments and little pieces. That's why if you Google image the black stone and you get a close-up, you'll see like there's a mold, a black mold, and then inside it you see 8 or 9 pieces inside, some of them like the size of a date. That's from the actual black stone, and the rest is this mold. Because when they destroyed it, we just got 9 pieces, and so they created this kind of mold to put it in, and that's the black stone. And this, as a side note, if you kiss any of that, it counts as kissing the black stone. And it's the peak of ignorance to assume that you have to just kiss that part. If you find that part, then we can talk. Anyways, so for 22 years it was gone. They killing 20,000 pilgrims, throwing them into Zamzam, tearing down the curtains, removing the door of the Kaaba, his horse is urinating everywhere, and to add insult to injury, while that's happening, this guy Tahir, حيث لا طهارة, he's saying, أين طير الأبابيل? أين طير الأبابيل? Where are the Ababil birds? Where are the Ababil birds? Where are they? And they were even mocking the pilgrims because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَنْ دَخَلَهُ كَانَ آمِنًا, and whoever enters it, he will be safe. but they don't understand what the verse is saying. So they're saying, where is the amn? We're killing you guys and you're not being safe. As a man said to those who were saying that, someone of understanding, he said, Ya ghabi. And he said, you, and basically not very dumb. He's telling them you're dumb. That when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when whoever enters the home or the house of Allah, he will be safe, it's a command for you to keep them safe. It's not saying magically nothing will happen, they will never fall or slip or get hurt or get sick. He's saying keep them safe, make them safe. That's what it's saying. Anyways, they also then tried to steal or remove the mizab. If you look at images of the Kaaba, you'll find something looking like a rain gutter almost, just sticking out like this, golden, coming out like this. That's from where the rainwater collects from the roof and comes down. This is known as the mizab. And they tried to steal the mizab, but they couldn't, because the tribe of Huzayl, they were fantastic. See, the mizab is at the top, so people tried to get up to remove it, and with their arrows, they just kept shooting them and showering them with arrows from a distance, the people of Huzayl, the tribe of Huzayl. So why couldn't they protect the black stone? Because the black stone is down low, and there are pilgrims and people and the crowds, they can't just shoot randomly at people. But up top, they couldn't steal the mizab because of that. Now, another thing that happened, they also tried to take them, or they would have taken the maqam. But as-Sadana, who are from Bani Shayba, as-Sadana are the people who, since the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and since before that actually, until today, subhanAllah, they're the ones who hold the keys and they take care of the Kaaba. They've got the keys to the Kaaba. So they actually removed Maqam Ibrahim and they hid it in their neighborhood, in their areas. So they weren't able to take the Maqam because of that. Anyways, so here's why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stop the army or this guy of Al-Tahir or Abu Tahir here? Why? Because you already know the answer. We said, number one, this was after the great place that Mecca had and the Kaaba had in the hearts of people. So nothing was going to change it. If you damage a part, people still revere and love the building. Whereas I said in the first one, it would have moved and shifted that love to Sana'a, to Al-Qulays, another building, and it would have completely lost its value, the Kaaba in Mecca. But here, people already love this place. And whether you damage it or not, it's not going to affect that in their hearts and its importance. That's one. Number two, you damage it, but it was rebuilt. Today, some of you, this is the first time to hear about Abu Tahir and Al-Qaramita. So, he came and left and is being cursed by millions of Muslims for what he did. And the Kaaba is standing there. And many people don't even know that it was destroyed one day. Meaning that destruction didn't affect it. It still came back and it didn't affect anything. People still love that place. They don't even know what happened. Many times it was destroyed and it had no effect whatsoever. So it's still standing there. And it didn't threaten its very existence, right? So it recovered from it. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't protect it in the other times. And then towards the end of time doesn't protect it because Abraha at that point, or the Suwayqatain, nobody even cares at that point about the Kaaba. But basically that was just a little bit, and there were other times the Kaaba was rebuilt and there was reconstruction, things like that. But this was the explanation of what happens. Now what's interesting about the Suwayqatain here, in Sunan Abu Dawood, An-Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, leave the Abyssinians alone so long as they leave you alone. And leave the Turk, utruku Turka ma tarakukum. Leave the Turk alone so long as they leave you alone. The Turks here, the Turkic people, not Turkish people, but Turkic people, which includes Mongolians and Uzbeks and a lot of people from those regions, right? So, and what's beautiful is that these are guidelines for us. And we said with the signs of the Day of Judgment, one of the reasons and wisdoms behind why the Prophet ﷺ told us about them is so that we behave accordingly when the time comes. So leave the Turk as long as they leave you alone. Leave the Abyssinians alone so long as they leave you alone. When the Mongol invasion happened, there was Muhammad ibn Khawarizm Shah is one of the leaders of what is known as the Khawarizm Empire. It was an empire, Muslim empire, right next to the Abbasid empire. And Genghis Khan wants a way to completely surround or almost completely surround the Abbasids. But he has a pact with the Khawarizm Empire. And then there's a story of two either merchants that perhaps were thought to be spies, or maybe they were spies dressed as merchants, but there were two merchants, Mongolians, who were there in the Khawarizm Empire. And their leader, Muhammad ibn Khawarizm Shah, he had them killed. Okay. So basically, he had them killed, arrested, what have you. So Genghis Khan sent him a messenger saying, why would you kill the merchants? It's a good thing. They bring gifts for kings. They bring products and merchandise from different parts of the world. So he's telling him trade is a good thing. Why would you kill them? What does this guy do? Muhammad ibn Khawarizm Shah is an old man who was not very good in decision making, the scholars said. He killed the messenger. What does it mean to kill the messenger? It's a declaration of war. So you want to pick a fight with the Mongols at this point? And of course, he didn't know and didn't follow the advice of the Prophet ﷺ. Utruku turka ma tarakukum. Leave them alone so long as they leave you alone. Leave the Abyssinians alone so long as they leave you alone. These are the guidelines. That's what we follow. Anyways, so that is basically the destruction of the Kaaba, and some other times historically where the Kaaba was destroyed. And we'll do one more since we have time. This is narrated by Al-Hakim. Hudayfa radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and then we just want really the end of this hadith, that the book of Allah will be lifted in a single night, so that not even a verse remains upon the earth. So will the books physically be taken that have ayat of Quran in it? Or will the books remain physically, but when you open the pages are blank. The letters disappeared. Wallahu ta'ala alam. We don't know exactly. Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. We don't know. But it doesn't matter if the pages became blank or the books disappeared off the shelves. What really matters is the Quran is not on earth. That's what matters. So in a single night, the Prophet ﷺ said, the book of Allah will be lifted in a single night so that not even a verse remains upon the earth. And some people say, what about my Quran app? I'm not going to answer that. So there will only remain certain groups of people, such as the elderly, who will say, we heard our forefathers saying, La ilaha illallah, so we also say it. الشيخ من الناس الشيخ الكبير والعجوز, the old, and they will say يقولون أدركنا آباءنا على هذه الكلمة. Our forefathers, we saw them saying this word لا إله إلا الله فنحن نقولها, so we say the same thing. So then this hadith, this was Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman radiallahu anhu. He was mentioning this hadith towards the end of his life, meaning when he was surrounded by the tabi'een, more so than the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. So one of the tabi'een, one of the people who was there, his name was Sila. So Sila says, how will la ilaha illallah? He says, ما تغني عنهم لا إله إلا الله وهم لا يدرون ما صلاة ولا صيام ولا نسك ولا صدقة. He said, how will la ilaha benefit them when they don't know what prayer is, nor fasting, nor the rites of Hajj, nor sadaqah, giving in charity? فأعرض عنه حذيفة. So Hudayfa either physically turned away from him or just ignored him. ثم ردها عليه. So he repeated it again. He said, well, how will la ilaha benefit them? They don't know what salah is, or siyam, or the rites of Hajj, or sadaqah. And then Hudayfa أعرض عنه. Again he turned away from him, radiallahu anhu. The companion turned away from him. And then he asked again. So then Hudayfa أقبل عليه ثم أقبل عليه, يعني he turned to him في الثالثة, after the third one. فقال يا صلة تنجيهم من النار يا صلة تنجيهم من النار يا صلة تنجيهم من النار. It will save them from the hellfire. And he said it 3 times. Why did he say it 3 times? Because he asked 3 times. And the scholars said, at that point there is nothing left from Islam besides La ilaha illallah. So it will save you from the hellfire at that point. But you can't today, with all the knowledge and all the things, say La ilaha illallah will be enough to save you from the hellfire. That's the difference between the two. Maybe we'll expound on it a little bit more next time. Anyway, jazakumullah khair.